2.3 million dislikes. Imagine having that much of a dedicated hater base. That's insane.
She couldn't keep her mouth shut.
What is it like for you now having all of this? I think it's a lot of pressure, right?
It's definitely a lot of pressure, but I surround very good people who keep me grounded and try to just stay as true to myself as I possibly can.
After the Snow White thing, I'm gonna be honest, I will be shocked if she gets cast in almost anything.
Disney made a move, but they didn't say a word about it. No trailer drop, no sneak peek, no glamorous premiere or countdown hype. After nearly 2 years of build-up, headlines, and non-stop damage control, their Snow White reboot suddenly disappeared.
White remake, mostly because of what the lead actress has been saying to the press. Rachel Zegler has been described as a walking PR disaster for Disney's. We've heard her bag the classic story before, but there's more.
And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay. Maybe that's a weird takeaway. Regardless, this is not supposed to be anything other than insightful entertainment. It's what I do best. Just know that I am the most grateful person alive. But I'm also keeping it real.
Just like that, gone without a trace. No global marketing push, no teaser tweets, no press release. And now people inside the industry are whispering.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. When I say that this has been the biggest adjustment of my life, like understanding the way my life operates now, being who I am, and the things that I've been so fortunate to make. It comes with so much ground that I never thought I would be able to cover, and that people think I'm doing poorly, and other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all.
It wasn't just a delay, it was a silent shutdown. The release date came and went, and Disney didn't even blink. Not a single post. Why the radio silence? It comes down to one name, one controversy Disney doesn't want to touch anymore: Rachel Zegler.
So she said she was scared of the original cartoon, watched it once and never picked it up again. She should have watched it a few times and maybe became more familiar with the story. And before the script went through such a dramatic change that it sounds like she had a part in, Disney, an accomplice with that, obviously it was their production. You should have, watched it a little closely and maybe stayed a little closer to the original blockbuster, wonderful story written by whoever it was, but produced by Disney.
I know that you've told me before that your version of Snow White is different and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Okay, angry. I'm honored. I don't know why I sound so angry right now. I'm honored. Am I a psychopath? No, I've been getting a lot of questions about how do I feel? I feel amazing. We start kind of soon and I'm just like,
And at this point, she's alone, very alone. According to multiple insiders, Disney is scared of what could happen if they give Rachel any more spotlight, even if it's just a streaming debut. One studio source didn't hold back. They reportedly called her a ticking time bomb.
If I'm Bob Iger, you know what we're doing? Emergency meeting. We're putting Snow White on hold for 2 years, and guess what?
Smart.
Pay her a couple $1,000,000, go away. We're gonna bring another person to play this role.
One of the 18 hours I am in the Snow White dress, I expect to get paid. If it's 18 hours, I want 18 hours of pay. I'm sure she got underpaid as a Disney lead actress.
And with Zegler still trending for all the wrong reasons, on-set drama, explosive arguments, co-star walkouts, and even a $50 million lawsuit involving her own agent, Disney seems to have reached its breaking point.
It has proven to be Disney's worst investment ever in the history of Disney investments. I mean, they've gone through various scandals with this girl.
They postponed the release of this thing, Ben, for a year because their star, Rachel Zegler, was so unlikable.
This wasn't a pause. They didn't shelve it to regroup. They buried it. Because to them, Snow White stopped being a fairy tale and became a full-on PR nightmare.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, "Yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her." This weird feminist thing where her heroine cannot be in love or be saved by a man, the prince, that she's more focused on becoming the leader she was meant to be, as if women in modern day America must make that choice.
But that's just the surface. The real reason Disney pulled the plug runs way deeper, and it all traces back to one turning point, when Rachel Zegler proved she hadn't changed at all, long before Evita crashed and burned, and way before headlines screamed about lawsuits and toxic work environments. Rachel's public image was already spiraling.
Where Steven Spielberg and co. were demanding that she prove how Latina she really is, since her name doesn't sound Latina, and she was angrily saying, "Did I have to bring in my little abuelita for you to believe that I was Latina?"
Rachel Zegler made it so hateable that you really sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. I don't know how anyone would ever want to go into business with her ever.
It all began with the interviews. When the first glimpses of Snow White finally dropped, fans were hoping for that classic Disney magic. But what they got was Rachel openly mocking the original film, calling it weird, creepy, and outdated. She dismissed the prince as a stalker, slammed the storyline as irrelevant, and bragged that the new version was all about empowerment because Snow White didn't need saving anymore. The internet blew up, and not in a good way. People weren't just surprised. They were insulted. A beloved story that shaped generations brushed off like a joke. It didn't go over well. Then came the red carpet moments. Clips started going viral, not for glam looks or charming quotes, but for Rachel's attitude. Sarcastic, icy. Above it all, the same girl once celebrated as Spielberg's golden discovery now came off as smug and dismissive. To many, she seemed arrogant, like she thought she was bigger than the role. Even fans who once cheered her on started backing away. People online called her out for being ungrateful, condescending, and completely out of sync with the Disney fan base, her core audience. And things backstage weren't much better. Sources from past productions described Rachel as hard to direct, controlling, clashing with seasoned crew members. But Disney kept the faith. They pushed through the noise, hoping it would all pass, hoping the right spin could fix the damage. It didn't. In fact, the situation only escalated. If Rachel Zegler's public perception was already hanging by a thread, Evita didn't just snip it. It torched it. The West End production was supposed to be her big comeback, a fresh start, a way to show she could deliver class, professionalism, and talent on a live stage. But what unfolded backstage was far from a comeback. It was a meltdown. Rumors started leaking early, just weeks into rehearsals. Talks of creative clashes, tension on set, and even people walking out mid-run-through. One insider claimed Rachel screamed at a lighting tech for missing her cue. Another said she flat-out refused to rehearse scenes unless they matched her vision. And then came the anonymous emails, leaked rehearsal notes, testimonies from cast and crew. One message even described the workplace as toxic, saying Rachel's presence had become unsustainable. Sound familiar? The same behavior people had whispered about during Snow White was now unfolding under the bright lights of London's theater world. But this time, Rachel was on her own. No Disney shield, no PR team to spin the chaos, no brand umbrella to protect her. It was just Rachel, raw, unfiltered, and unraveling. And then the headlines returned. Only now, it wasn't about fairy tale reboots or feminist hot takes. It was about backstage drama, professional walkouts, and an actress so allegedly difficult people were quitting just to escape her orbit. Even her loyal supporters started falling silent because this time it wasn't a misunderstanding. It looked like a pattern. And Disney? They were watching. One source said Evita was the moment the higher-ups finally admitted what they'd been afraid to say out loud. Rachel Zegler wasn't just a PR mess, she was a liability. And that's when the serious talks reportedly began about pulling the plug on Snow White's streaming release altogether before the next headline could do even more damage. Every time Rachel Zegler appears in an interview, it's like tossing a match into gasoline. PR teams reportedly hold their breath with every soundbite, afraid she'll say something that makes things even worse. But Disney's bigger fear? That putting Snow White out now would reignite a firestorm not just about her, but about the company's own decision-making. The real concern behind the scenes isn't just Zegler's behavior, it's the question no one wants to answer. Did Disney know how chaotic it was behind the curtain? Were they aware of the tension, the lawsuits, the set drama, and just looked the other way? That fear led to the new game plan: total silence. All marketing plans have reportedly been put on ice. The press tour? Canceled before it was even confirmed. Internal teams were instructed to shift focus to less risky upcoming titles and stay completely silent on Snow White. Not a tweet, not a teaser, nothing. And with Rachel still making headlines, whether it's legal battles, viral feuds, or emotional social media spirals, there's no sign that silence will break anytime soon. Because Disney has learned a brutal truth. When Rachel Zegler speaks, the internet doesn't rally, they roast. And Disney isn't just trying to protect a single movie anymore. They're trying to save their brand from crumbling. The last couple of years haven't been kind to Disney. Political backlash, flop after flop at the box office, a plummeting stock price, streaming subscriber declines. It's been one identity crisis after another, and in the middle of that chaos, Snow White was supposed to be their anchor. A safe, nostalgic reboot. A guaranteed win. Instead, it became radioactive. The casting outrage, the drastic rewrites, beloved characters mysteriously removed, and at the center of it all, Rachel Zegler, the face of a film critics now call a symbol of Disney's woke gone wrong era. At first, Disney hoped the noise would die down, that public opinion would shift, that Rachel would win them over again. But after Evita, the lawsuit drama, and her now infamous quote about not needing a prince, that hope crumbled. And inside Disney, the big question finally started echoing behind closed doors. If we release this film, are we damaging the entire brand? Insiders say the answer was clear: yes. Marketing teams reportedly sounded the alarm. Releasing Snow White with Rachel still in the spotlight would hijack the narrative. The film wouldn't trend for its visuals or music, it would trend for her. And in today's internet climate, that's a risk they just can't afford. They braced themselves for headlines like, "Disney doubles down on controversial star." Snow White premieres, but the drama overshadows the magic. Millions spent, just to spark another backlash. So instead of facing the storm, they shut it all down. No red carpet, no promo tour, no social posts, just silence. And according to sources, that may not be the end of it. Rumors are swirling that some executives now want the entire project scrapped, re-edited, or quietly shelved forever. Because it's not just about bad press anymore, it's about losing real money. They've poured millions into a movie that no one wants to market. A film led by an actress they can't send out for interviews. And fans? Most of them have already made up their minds. They don't want to see Rachel on their screens. They don't trust the brand she represents. It didn't take long for the internet to notice the eerie silence. The release date came and went, without a single update. No Disney Plus debut, no official announcement, nothing. Social media filled in the blanks, Reddit threads lit up, TikTokers speculated that Disney shelved the film for good. One viral tweet summed it up with brutal simplicity. Disney saw the Evita chaos and said, "Yeah, never mind." And while Disney stayed quiet, fans didn't. Some praised the decision, saying Rachel's behavior made her unfit to lead any franchise. Others said this should have happened months ago, calling it a necessary cleanup. YouTube comments under the old Snow White trailers got vicious. This aged like milk. Where's the movie? Oh, right, in PR jail. But not everyone was celebrating. Some of Rachel's ride or die fans accused Disney of cowardice. They said the company bowed to online hate campaigns, that if Zegler was difficult, they should have handled it internally, not ghosted her when things got tough. Still, the louder voices weren't making excuses. They were asking the real question: why is Disney pretending this isn't happening? Meanwhile, leaks from inside the company were painting a grim picture. One alleged memo from a Disney Plus marketing manager described Snow White as unsalvageable. Another warned teams to redirect their efforts to lower-risk projects. And perhaps the clearest sign of how badly this spiraled? Disney is reportedly tightening contracts on future projects, adding strict conduct clauses. Because Zegler's implosion didn't just rattle PR, it rattled the entire structure. What was once a crown jewel streaming release has now become Disney's biggest embarrassment. And Rachel? Still no apology, no acknowledgement, just silence, and scorched earth behind her. This isn't about whether Rachel Zegler is controversial anymore, it's about whether she's finished. Hollywood's no stranger to difficult stars, but it's rare to see one crash and burn this hard this fast. Even more rare? Dragging a billion-dollar studio's biggest fairy tale with them. Rachel Zegler was meant to be Hollywood's next sweetheart, Spielberg's Discovery, the Gen Z Cinderella. She went from uploading YouTube covers to starring in award-winning blockbusters almost overnight. She was living the dream until it turned into a nightmare. Now, she's the lead in a story nobody wants to tell. And the worst part? Nobody's trying to save her. There's no glowing Vanity Fair profile trying to shift the narrative. No powerful director coming to her defense. No buzz about a comeback role, just silence. And in this town, silence screams. Because when the calls stop, your team doesn't say, "You're blacklisted." They say things like, "They went in a different direction," or "They're looking for a fresh face." And Rachel? She's hearing those phrases now. Casting directors are taking her off shortlists. Studios are quietly removing her name from upcoming leads. One project she was attached to? On indefinite hold. Another? She was allegedly dropped after Evita's backstage horror stories went viral. Brand partnerships? Gone. No more fragrance launches, no red carpet fashion deals, no magazine features. The offers just stopped. Why? Because Rachel Zegler isn't just controversial, she's unpredictable. And in this industry, unpredictability equals risk. She's lashed out, burned bridges, fired off lawsuits instead of apologies, and doubled down every time she could have just taken a breath. She's not just a controversial figure anymore, she's a cautionary tale. And in Hollywood, those don't get sequels. This isn't about one viral interview or one role gone wrong, it's about a pattern, a reputation, and the slow collapse of everything she once stood for. The moment she said Snow White didn't need saving, it felt bold, empowering, fresh. Now, it feels like the setup to her own downfall. Fans who once cheered her on are changing their tune. Scroll through the comments and it's clear, the tide has turned. People saying, "I tried to root for her. She made it impossible." This isn't hate, it's accountability. Because this isn't just the fall of a star, it's the collapse of public trust. Rachel didn't just lose a movie, she lost the audience. And in 2025, that's more devastating than any box office bomb. Comebacks are real, but they require reflection, silence, accountability, time. Rachel's offered none of the above, just more chaos, more headlines, and more distance between her and the future she once owned. So, what happens next? That depends on her. But if she keeps moving the way she has, there may not be a next. Because in Hollywood, the fall isn't what ruins you. It's refusing to climb back with grace. And right now, Rachel Zegler isn't climbing, she's disappearing.